Welcome back. Okay, when we left, we were talking about women's body image and the work of women in recovery. And it strikes me, you know, as you talk about nicotine being a gateway drug, that many women in particular started smoking at a very early age, about the time that those body images were developing.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I have heard about nicotine recovery in particular is that when you stop smoking, whatever issues were true for you at that time in life seem to come back. Because the repression, I guess, starts at that point. So I would guess then that initially, when you stop smoking, you may have, Sherry in particular, you may have discovered some really adolescent feelings. That did any of them surprise you, that you actually felt that way?
Yeah, it did. Working through it in a group setting with other women, it was surprising. Actually, you're working while other women are working as well, so you get a benefit in the group therapy session. Yeah, it did surprise me because a lot of feelings came up and there was a lot of crying from a primal area in my body that I didn't even know existed. And once it came up and out, I was able to heal it and then grieve that loss. And it was very important to do it that way for me.
Okay. And do you think, I mean, how old were you when you first started smoking?
I was trying to I was thinking that when you were saying it. I think I was probably about 10.
10? Okay.
Yeah, very young.
Okay.
It's my first drug.
Do you think that smoking affected the way you saw yourself as you were developing as a woman?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, how do you think it affected you?
I didn't really think of myself as being cool smoking because I was like a closet smoker. I really enjoyed the high I got off of it. But I think it definitely affected the way it affected my body, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so when you say closet smoker, you mean you just didn't smoke in front of other people?
No. No, I smoked in bathrooms, many bathrooms.
In bathrooms, okay. And what was that about, do you think?
I didn't want other people to see me smoke. Yeah.
Is that part of the, do you see that with other women, Chris, part of that? Because I know there was a period of time, certainly my grandmother's adulthood, where it was considered incredibly tacky for women to be seen smoking on the street, or that just was not a very ladylike or attractive thing for a woman to do. Do you think women still encounter that?
Actually, no, I think that's changed. I think that the media is so powerful in our country and the effects on adolescent women, that if you take a look at the advertisements from our grandmother's times through my times, and then of course, and I'm 44, through the 60s when it was cool, okay, and there was smoking was a lot about rebellion. Now I find that it's still about rebellion in the advertising if you look at it really closely, but it's more about there's a message of empowerment that's brought into the advertising. Empowerment and thin. Empowerment and thin. You know, if you smoke, you will be an individual, powerful woman who will always be thin. And this, of course, is what young women want and strive for today. So it's a very interesting thing to watch. I think it has changed considerably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why was that true for you then, that you didn't want anybody seeing you smoking?
I really don't know. I didn't want anybody to think I was dirty. I don't know. It just was a disgusting habit that I didn't like, and I didn't know how to quit. So it was like a shame thing, I would think.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Yeah, I know I had a brief foray into smoking myself, and I know the reason that I never pursued it was, for me, was the smell. I don't know, I just couldn't go there. But I know that if you smoke long enough, that becomes no longer an issue.
And you'd smell it.
Yeah, okay. So that sense, it sounds like was he your fiance at the time, or at least your boyfriend, was aware of its effects on you. And aware that as a woman that it may have impacted the way you dealt with him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It kept us from being intimate.
Okay.
And it was hard to get close to one another when a cigarette's in between you.
That's a good point, a little cloud kind of wafting across the table.
Right, yeah.
Huh. Do you see that, Chris, when people move into maybe the maintenance stages that we looked at a few minutes ago with the different levels,
right,
the relationship issues become key for women?
What I hear, I'm really interested in the language that people use in group therapy, all right? And you'll hear them talk about the smoke screen. all right, now that the smoke screen's gone. So I think that smoking is a very insidious way of avoiding intimacy, okay, particularly for women. But I think also that more importantly, what they're doing is, of course, is sucking down the feelings related to their fear of intimacy. So if you think about actual smoking itself, you know, and the sucking down of the feelings, all right, this is very important. And they talk about that a lot in group, about how the feelings come up. I pick up the cigarette and I suck them back down, okay? So the smoke screen, intimacy, sucking feelings down. I've found for women, rage is an issue. Very, the word fuming.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, fuming and raging. A lot of course, for women in general in our culture, anger is an issue. So if you add the fact that you've been sucking anger down for the last 30 years, all right, and you let go of the agent that's helped you to do that or keep it sedated, and you're going to have some rage coming up. And this is oftentimes very frightening to women. So I think the reason the program works is there's a place where you can validate women's rage and you can express it in a healthy way. It's a particular insidious relapse trigger, I think, for women, rage.
Is rage, absolutely. Well, in our culture, we have so little permission.
Yes.
To be able to actually, well, to even raise our voices.
Yeah.
You know, so part of that, in fact, I've certainly had clients that hung on to a variety of addictions, smoking, food, whatever, because that rage was so threatening. And in fact, I've had people say to me, well, the only way I can stay married is to stay fat. The only way I can stay married is to keep smoking. Because when I don't, I find myself starting to say things that then have a consequence.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like relationships.
And as you know very well, if you're not able to express your rage without the sedation, that for women in particular is going to be internalized and it's going to become depression. So we know that women and depression, 80% of all depressed patients in psychiatrists' office are women.
Yeah.
Right. So nicotine is a very, very powerful drug that's used to sedate depression.
Yeah.
So when you let go of it, you've got a depressed woman.
Now, do you ever have the partners, like did your boyfriend ever, I don't know, maybe not directly say, gee, honey, I'd like you to go back to smoking, but ever come up with any resistance with partners when this rage begins to come up, kind of like they'd like to clamp it back down?
No, my husband was very supportive.
Good for him.
Of my whole process, absolutely.
So it didn't scare him?
No, not at all. He was very grateful that I found it.
Good for him. Have all women been that fortunate?
No.
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 Okay.
In fact, as you know, this is rare. Oftentimes, well, actually, my examples, if I think about it, of those clients that have come into group, and it was a woman who gave the husband the cigarette, which I think is interesting. But yes, oftentimes somebody, the woman or the man of the spouse, is afraid of the rage that's emerging, you know, and there's a loss of control. As long as sedation's being used, there's a sense that things are under control. Of course, they're not, but so if the partner has control issues, of course, yeah, they will offer them a cigarette. They'll go buy a pack and say, smoke.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a look again at our graphic and see where we are along in this process. We have already talked about contemplation, determination, sounds like action. Now we've got abstinence, which is staying quit, and maintenance, what you probably need to do to continue your ongoing abstinence from smoking. So what kinds of things did you find? I mean, once you actually put down the cigarette, what kinds of things, Sherry, were required of you in order to stay free from smoking?
One thing I think is getting in touch with your body again. So I did a lot of massage, and I started walking more, and I could actually breathe and walk and maybe even jog.
Wow.
I looked at my nutrition, what I was eating. It was very important to me, so I started going to school to find out what was right and would assist me and help me, you know, with more protein in my diet. Really helped a lot, because I didn't realize I was hypoglycemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and hypothyroid. I didn't know that either. So diet has been very important in my recovery and my maintenance.
Okay. And it sounds like you've been going to support groups.
Yeah.
Now, have you attended the 12-step groups for nicotine abstinence?
Yeah, I went to Nicotine Anonymous for a while, yeah.
Okay. Is that a good resource?
Absolutely,
in your experience?
yes,
Okay.
it is.
Okay. Yeah, I know that throughout the various shows we've had, periodically we'll have 12-step options put out there. Now, you are going to be doing a series of workshops, and I know you've got a big one coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we're going to have as you know, December is a time when a lot of nicotine addicts say this is the time for me. And I'm going to do January 1. And of course, these are all really, really good. As Dr. Hazel says, every attempt to quit smoking, the more times you've quit, the closer you are. So keep trying. You keep showing up and you keep trying. All right? And so oftentimes people come with a sense of hopelessness if they've been tried 5, 6 times and have not succeeded. They're closer, so keep trying. So what we're going to do is we've set up some new groups, contemplation groups on Tuesday night for those people who are thinking about quitting. And then we've also set up a group to start on the maintenance process, and these are people who are abstinent and are starting to do the work that Sherry's talking about, where they're ready to really start processing what comes up after they've put down the cigarette. We have a wonderful retreat that we're going to do in Sedona, Arizona in late January for people who really want to get away and be free. And that's going to involve counseling and some alone time and a place to start their abstinence in the beautiful desert. So we're doing a lot for the new year. We're kind of excited about it. Continuing care continues to go on. So we've learned a lot in the last couple of years. I think it's been really, really fun.
Well, I remember when you were first starting, there was some resistance in the recovering community, and you touched on that whole idea of weight, and it's really not that serious an addiction. And have you seen over the last few years, I know the country in general has moved into looking at nicotine as increasingly an addictive drug. Have you seen that shift also?
I think it's shifting.
Good.
All right, I think it's shifting, and I think it's all very positive, and I'm very excited about it. I, of course, see the special progressive nature of this disease. I see it very close and very close to me. I see the ones with the emphysema, I have more of a sense of urgency about it, I guess, than most people do. And I think that it's just like it was in the 80s with alcohol and other drugs. It reminds me of the same kind of a flavor in treatment circles. It's kind of an aside.
Yeah, but it sounds like we've been making some progress. So the work you're doing is making a difference.
But it's the #1 addiction in this country.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Absolutely.
We're going to need to close. Sherry, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've worked, sounds like you've worked very hard.
Yes.
And you've been very brave. A lot of us don't want to look at that kind of issue.
Couldn't have done it alone.
There you go. Thank you. It's always a treat.
Thank you.
I'm glad you stopped in. Join us next week as we meet author Jennifer Morris to discuss her book, Apprentice to Power. I'm Mary Crocker Cook. Good night.